Hey everyone, and welcome to the Defining Your Life podcast, where we focus on living in our purpose, practicing presence, and activating our power in each moment. I'm Marsharelle, your resident pep talk provider, and I invite you to join me as we continue to learn, lift each other up, and strive to level up together. Because we are never finished defining our lives, and it takes a village, so let's build one. Stay tuned for the episode. Hey everyone, Marsharelle here. Welcome and thank you for tuning in. I just wanted to take a moment to give you a brief introduction to who I am and why I decided to show up in this space. I recently celebrated a milestone birthday, and if you're wondering, yes, it was 40 and flourishing, I like to say. And it led me to reflect on how I've been moving through life and showing up in the world. Now, I didn't wake up on my birthday and suddenly have an epiphany, but this was more so a decades-long quest of getting back to showing up for myself and figuring out how to discover and embrace my purpose and live in a way that honors it. But you know what they say, life happens. So of course, I've gotten distracted many times along the way. I needed to take a moment, put forth some effort, and reset. I began pondering questions like, how did I get to a place in life where I felt like the me that I knew and loved disappeared? And if that version of me disappeared, then who was left behind? Because I truly felt like I had lost myself and couldn't figure out how to find me. Now, I am a gardener, and that's a practice that reminds us that things are ever changing. And I took a look at where I was and found that parts of my life were like that of a neglected garden. And the me that I loved was hidden underneath compacted layers of what I'll call the soil of life. That's where my dreams, my focus, my drive were all hanging out, buried, hidden, and malnourished. And so while things were, in fact, constantly changing around me, I felt very stagnant in the midst of it all. To be clear, this deficit was not a reflection of my entire life by any means. I am a happily married mother with a wonderful extended family and friend group. But the reality is, an integral part of me is rooted in creativity and self-expression, and I love achieving goals in this space. So by ignoring this core part of myself, which has been with me since well before marriage, motherhood, and all the other busyness of life, I have been doing myself and my family a terrible disservice. In my experience, I've found that it is often much easier to stay focused on the practice of dreaming and talking about focus and drive rather than the actions you have to take in order to make your dreams a reality, put in the work for that focus, and activate that drive. So I had to evaluate what I could do to get myself out of this stuck place. My first action steps were to take accountability for how I got here, get to digging up that compacted soil, and do the work of tending to my inner garden. For those of you that are familiar with gardening, you know that loosening and turning over the soil takes work. Not only does it take muscle and sweat, it takes things like compost and fertilizers to amend it, make it pliable and plantable so that healthy plants can grow from it. If you want healthy plants, you have to focus on the soil, and the nutrients in the soil need to be replenished constantly. So I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked myself. Do you want to focus on your soil? Are you willing to take the time to tend to your garden? If so, I hope that you'll keep listening so that we can support each other in this space. Over the course of this podcast, you'll definitely get to learn more about me, but I wanted to share with you my primary reason and goal for showing up here, and that is to encourage women, which, by the way, includes me because we should all be encouraging ourselves every day. So yeah, my goal is to encourage women while building a community where we can grow, explore, and stretch together. life is never wrapped up in a neat package. We have to carve out time to work on each facet of it bit by bit. And that work is never done because there are so many variables that shift the outcome. And I'm here sharing my perspective as a launching pad to get deeper conversations going around how to navigate these variables. And so I'd like to travel this road of defining life with you. I want us to remind each other to be nimble, that pivoting is okay, that it's never too late to change, and that yes, while we do get stuck sometimes, we can get unstuck too. My hope is that we can form an engaging community that doesn't stop at the end of each episode. I invite you to join me on IG and comment on the blog as I continue to build out spaces for us to connect in. I want us all to share what has worked for us and where we could use a little help, because sometimes it just takes a little push from a friend in order for us to level up. So let's be that cohort of friends for each other. Let's grow together, go deeper, explore the things that shape and mold us, celebrate the value that each one of us brings to the table, and shed light on all those little things in our lives that need attention to help us cultivate life gardens that bloom fully. Because it takes a village to make it all happen. And I believe that villages and communities are oftentimes underrated, with lots of talk of, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. I can do it myself. I made it on my own. Villages are important. And sometimes you have to invest in one to get something out of it. So let's build one together. I'm looking forward to chatting with you all in the next episode. Take care until then.